Chapter 2 White Fox Face. Xu Longxiang jerked his horse to a sudden stop, shouting his brother's name several times. Seeing no reaction from the latter, he thought his brother had died and broke into loud sobs. It was only after old Huang hobbled over and whispered a few words that Xu Longxiang started to laugh while sucking in his snot, giving the old servant a pat on the shoulder that landed as a slap so hard the old man fell squarely on his butt. Xu Longxiang then carried his sleeping elder brother on his back and walked slowly towards the city gate. Once word got out that Xu Fengnian was back, chaos ensued within Ling province. A lone slender figure trailed behind the iron cavalry into the city. Clad all in white, with picturesque dark eyebrows and porcelain-like skin, her countenance exuded an air of snobbish nobility, with the blades adorning her waist, offering an added swagger. She singled out a fortune-teller and inquired,
"Sir, which noble family does that person being escorted by the Northern Liang cavalry belong to?"
The old man replied,
"Miss, that's the eldest son of the Lord of Northern Liang."
The girl's eyebrows furrowed slightly at being addressed as Miss, but she made no retort. Squinting towards the iron cavalry squad ahead, her eyes carried a hint of murderous intent as she spoke.
"Beggar Xu, is this your so-called one truth for every 9 lies makes for a convincing scam? I cannot believe Lord Xu, the manslayer, has such a wimp of a son."
Meanwhile, at the fragrantly opulent grand courtyard of the Prince of Northern Liang, Xu Fengnian lay in deep slumber upon a massive bed, his face worn and fatigued. Seated at the edge of the bed were Lord Xu and Xu Longxiang, while Maester Zhao stood nearby. Old Huang sat by the doorway.
"Mister, is my son all right?"
asked Lord Xu.
"He's fine. Just half a day's rest and he'll recover,"
the old Taoist proclaimed with confidence. Xu Fengnian slept for 2 days and 2 nights in a row. Xu Longxiang watched over him and had thus gone without food nor water for 2 days and 2 nights in a row. Lord Xu rushed over upon hearing the news. He came to see his son immediately, snatching up a censer by the bedside and flinging it towards him. Xu Fengnian erupted into a torrent of insults.
"Lord Xu, damn you! 3 years since you kicked me out of the castle. No wonder you keep saying I'm not your flesh and blood."
With a tilt of his head, Lord Xu avoided the censer and put on an apologetic expression. Finally, when Xu Fengnian had finished smashing everything there was to be smashed and laid motionless from exhaustion, Lord Xu piped up sheepishly,
"Feel better now? If so, have a meal. You can vent properly when your energy is restored."
Gasping like a bull, Xu Fengnian pointed at Lord Xu.
Mule. I'll spare you today, but you better watch your back."
Lord Xu replied cheerfully.
Sure, I'm on it."
Xu Fengnian then caught sight of his brother's foolish grin and his gaze softened. He muttered gently,
"Silly Xu Longxiang. Come here, stand up and let me see if you've grown taller and bigger."
The teenager stood up in earnest. Xu Fengnian gestured to assess his brother's height, which came to just under his head. With a hint of disappointment, he chuckled.
"Neither tall nor big."
The youth scooped up his brother in his arms, prompting Xu Fengnian to laugh heartily.
"Your strength did grow by a lot, though."
After recuperating for 3 days, Xu Fengnian went to the Tingchao Pavilion to take Xu Longxiang fishing. The Tingchao Pavilion housed within its walls thousands of scrolls and innumerable rare, one-of-a-kind books. There was no lack of secret tomes containing long-lost martial arts knowledge. "15 years ago, Lord Xu once led the Iron Cavalry in person, brandishing an imperial edict and the sword of state in crushing several dozen martial strongholds all over the kingdom. The proud and mighty Forbidden Mountain Villa was even vanquished in a whirlwind of ashes and smoke. Forbidden Mountain Villa was once a mecca of martial training 20 years ago, with the exception of several volume sets handed over to the royal palace. All the martial tomes archived in the villa were confiscated and kept on the 6th floor of the Tingchao Pavilion. On his wooden couch, Xu Fengnian recalled the white fox face he had tricked into entering Liang territory. Tousling his brother's hair, he said with a smile,
I told you I was going to trick a beauty into becoming your wife, didn't I? Guess what? I really got one. Someone with a face resembling a white fox cub's, carrying a pair of blades. One's called Nivisword, and the other's called Tonitrus Sword, both being one-of-a-kind, world-famous blades. Too bad it's a dude.